Hello, and welcome to the channel of Healing and Self-Development. Today, I have a very important topic I want to talk about. In your journey of healing, it's very important that you identify the source of your fears, the source of your anxiety, the source of your doubt. Most of the time, you'll be surprised to discover that most of the things you're scared of, they come from someone else. You pick them up from your environment and you made them your own fear subconsciously without even knowing, without even noticing it, until you involve yourself in your healing journey and start working on your issues, and then you discover where your issues come from. For instance, in my healing journey, I used to feel scared of traveling, for example. For some reason, I picked it up along the way because a very good friend of mine that time was very scared of traveling. He had this phobia around traveling, and he has never traveled anywhere. He would prefer to go to the jungles than visiting a new city. And because I used to hang around with this person, unknowingly I picked up that fear from him. And I made it my own. Surprisingly, 2 years ago, when I planned to go back home, this is what happened. I planned a trip to go back home with my daughter. And in the midst of preparation, out of nowhere, I had this fear in me that the trip is going to be a nightmare. That I was convinced that we will get sick. And I made sure to pack off every single medication I could think of just to make sure we have enough medications when we did it. Surprisingly, because my mind was so rounded around that, it ended up happening. By the time we got to my country, we were staying there for a short period of time. My daughter and I, we got so sick during our entire trip that we missed the joy and the fun to be with our families. We got so sick that my daughter, at some point, one night, she asked me to pray over her. She was like, "Mom, I can't take this anymore. I'm feeling extremely sick. I'm coughing nonstop. I haven't slept since we got here. I'm weak. I'm nauseated all the time. I can't sleep. I'm super tired. Mom, can you please pray over me so that I can get better? I want to sleep tonight." So when my daughter asked me that, this is why I want to share the power of a prayer. I put my soul, my heart in that short prayer. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to scream. I prayed to God to heal my daughter so that she can sleep. I put my soul, I put my heart in that prayer, and to God, behold, since that prayer, she slept almost 16 hours following that prayer. And on my side, I kept checking on her every hour also just to make sure she was breathing. That's what the power of prayer, what the prayer can do for you if you really believe it. But come back to how we pick up fear, anxieties, and worries from our environment. From that trip alone, I come to when I started doing my healing journey, I thought back about that trip, how it was very stressful, even during the journey. We had the countless issues and the traveling at the airport. I ended up losing my credit card, and I went through so much chaos in between, trying to figure out how we can get there and how to use how to substitute my credit card so I could pay what I was supposed to pay regarding our journey. So I'm sharing this because that episode came back to my mind when I started my healing journey, when I was exploring the source of my fears, when I was exploring the sources of my anxiety, when I was exploring the sources of my worries, of where all the issues I have they come from. That's where I realized that most of the things I have in me, I have picked them up from somewhere, from the people I surround myself with, from family members, from a workplace. One instance, I remember how I used to feel scared of driving, and whenever I was looking back at where that source come from, I realized that I picked up that fear from the conversation I heard from my coworkers between themselves. That conversation was not even directed to me, but I heard them talking about their fears about driving. And when that conversation happened, I wasn't even driving back then. I wasn't a driver back then, but subconsciously, I kept that fear. I projected that fear of them to me. So once I started learning to drive, I was so scared. I could barely get on the road and move the car. But once I started doing it and walk out of my fear, I get to the point where I started driving without even paying attention because it became habits. It came embedded in me. And so when in my healing journey, when I was looking at my inner self and figure out where my fears come from, I remember that example. Why was I scared to drive in the first place? Just because I heard the conversation from someone else expressing their fear, and unknowingly, subconsciously, I projected that fear back to myself and was hindering my progress to drive until I fight that fear. So, yeah, from my healing journey experience, this is what I can have to experience. It's very important to analyze the sources of your fears, the sources of every issues you have so that you can deal with them accordingly. Until you touch that source and walk in it entirely, the healing doesn't work. So it's very important. I hope you do it the right way. Have a great day.